Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, or CR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline, or a 2.99% APR on a 2025 CR-V.
See dealer for financing details.
Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, the WNBA podcast for beginners, where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we're here to revisit our defunct series, talking about the Miami Soul and the Charlotte Sting. Exciting times, ready to learn. Kristen's going to be the one teaching the lesson. And I'm just going to sit back and question what happened, and I'm looking forward to that. But before we get into it, Kristen, how's it going?
Going good. This past 2 weeks has been a whirlwind with the tournament, with the draft coming up, with people who we thought were going to be drafted are not entering the draft.
Cool.
So a lot's happening. Frankly, I do feel like my brain feels full. Mm-hmm. But I was happy to do more research and learn about the Soul and the Sting. So I'm excited to teach you today.
Yeah, naturally, I imagine your thoughts are overflowing with years of old WNBA knowledge that you didn't have before. Mm-hmm. And then you put all of this news in about Olivia Miles deciding not to enter the WNBA draft, and all these players transferring out of LSU and Notre Dame and all these other programs. And it's like, I never paid attention to the transfer portal stuff because I've never been so into prospects than I have been for this podcast. And that's cool. I'm like writing the draft board down. I'm like doing mock drafts in my head. I think I might actually write a mock draft just in order, like not actually anything too detailed, but like thinking about what teams need players. Mm-hmm. It's like pretty fun times, and the draft is only a couple weeks away. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
It really is like a whole nother world in the NCAA women's basketball.
Yeah.
Because in men's basketball, like the good men's players just immediately declare for the draft when after they're freshmen. Mm-hmm. So there's not 4 years of watching someone all the time. You know, sometimes, of course, it happens. But other times, like Cooper Flagg, we're only seeing him 1 year.
Correct.
So we haven't been watching him and following.
Sixer.
So it's real.
I should say up top, Sixer.
Okay.
Cooper Flagg.
We'll see. But it really is a whole nother world in college basketball. So I really like, as much as we tried to watch games and follow it during the season, we really weren't super plugged in. So now I'm just trying to learn as much as possible now, and it's like a lot.
Yeah, but it's cool that you can like look at these mock drafts that people are writing, or look at these big boards and be like, I am pretty well acquainted, even just from the tournament, with the top 15 prospects. I mean, I don't know all the international prospects past Dominique Malunga, but like, yeah, I know Sanaya Rivers and Isaiah James and Like these players that I was not familiar with a couple weeks ago. And that's a good feeling. It's Final Four time too, so that's just exciting in general. Very excited tomorrow. The women's Final Four starts, and we'll see who ends up taking it home. Dawn, could it be Dawn, who we're going to talk about today?
True.
Excited. But it's been a while since we've talked ball on the pod, but last week we did have a very big bracket.
True.
That was central.
I forgot.
I know, I could tell. If you haven't listened to it, well, first off, let's say, if you would like to reach out to us and talk to us about the show, you can do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you can connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod. We're there posting up a storm on Bluesky recently, getting in the replies. It's been fun. There's a lot of people talking about the W and tournament and dogs of the WNBA. Well, maybe not as many as we hoped. However, if you haven't checked out last week's episode of our 32 entry tournament of the dogs of the WNBA, highly suggest it. We are going to say who won.
Right. So fast forward if you don't want to
If you don't want to be spoiled. And check it out on our YouTube, because we have a fully visual version of the bracket with pictures during our commentary. Highly recommend checking that out. A lot of people have enjoyed that. And while you're over there, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give it a little subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. And we're going to be hopefully posting videos in the very near future a lot more often than we used to. So look forward to that.
Okay. Do we say who won now?
It was a final two.
Yeah.
That ended in a poll.
So we posted the poll on our Instagram. It was a tie between Pancake Gustafson and Brody and Coda Cloud.
Yes. This had to go to the third vote.
We had to do a third vote and bring it to our group chat, where friend of the pod Elizabeth switched her vote, leading to our winners, Brody and Coda.
Congratulations to the Cloud Boys for taking it home, for Philadelphia's own Natasha Cloud, for Delco's own Natasha Cloud. This one is a win. Obviously, we love Pancake too. She's a legend. Sometimes legends don't win tournaments.
That's
Sometimes Dawn Staley loses in the championship. Sometimes Gino Auriemma doesn't make it to the finals. It happens. Nothing to take away from Pancake or any of the other dogs that didn't make it there.
No, I'm not upset. It's fine.
But congratulations to Brody and Coda for being the dogs of the W. Now is it time to get into today's lesson?
It is time.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. I don't know. You keep saying that there's so many special players. Or like a really special player that I'm going to lose my mind about on the soul.
Yeah, true. Ugh, so should I do the sting first? Should I say the exciting thing first or save it?
I think you should save it. Why don't we do the bigger team first and then do the treat team? Because we did it in reverse. When I did the fire first.
Yeah.
You can do the soul second.
Okay. So just a heads up that neither of these teams will be as exciting as the Houston Comets episode that we did.
Sure.
They're much less successful as franchises.
Sure.
Much less storied, have less high caliber players. But fun nonetheless. And worth talking about nonetheless.
Of course. So,
the Charlotte Sting were one of the original 8 teams in 1997.
Okay.
And they were the sister team of the Charlotte Hornets. This is a little bit interesting because the Charlotte Hornets relocated to New Orleans in 2002. But the Sting did not relocate with them.
Okay.
So in 2002, the Sting became the only team without the NBA ownership, without the NBA connection.
Interesting.
So I tried to look up, why didn't the Sting go with the Hornets?
Well, sorry to interrupt. Did they play in the same stadium? Or were they
Yes.
okay, so, okay, interesting. So I guess I would assume that they would travel with them. But yeah, what do we learn?
Well, so in 2002, that is when the restructuring happened in the WNBA. So the WNBA teams didn't have to be owned by their NBA counterpart.
Oh, okay. So that's what the restrict. Oh, it's just like you are no longer, you can be severed, but you still could be.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean you're not allowed to.
All the other teams continued to be.
Right, except for
Really, except for the Sting, where the Hornets decided to move and left the Sting behind.
Right.
So in 2002, they were overseen by the WNBA.
Just the executive office? Like,
yeah.
Okay. Overseen.
Right. So they didn't really have ownership in 2002.
Weird.
And it seemed to be a very like up in the air situation where the team, the coaches, the fans, they didn't know if the team was going to be folded, disbanded, or if a new ownership was going to come. They didn't know.
Okay.
Really, the whole 2002 season, they were like, this could not be a team. We don't know.
What a concept. Like a puppet franchise.
Right. But in 2003, Robert L. Johnson, the founder of Black Entertainment Television,
really,
BET, purchased the Sting.
Okay.
And the new Charlotte Bobcats, which then became the Charlotte Hornets again.
Right.
This was weird to me. I didn't know about this.
Yes, the Bobcats. I was explaining to you the Bobcats and the Pelicans and the Hornets. Just a confusing mess that is in the NBA lore. Right.
So Charlotte didn't have an NBA team for 1 year, and then the Bobcats came, and so he bought the two teams.
Mm-hmm. Kind of nice that somebody actually bought a team when it was available to be purchased. When we've heard about these teams that, like Portland or like Cleveland, where just like there is no investor or like no investor big enough. But here we actually have one that's like, yes, I will purchase this team. Right. Because I want to own a team. Back in 2002, when it was like, compared to today, much more financially feasible to do that. Mm-hmm. Now it's like you got to have $6 billion in your back pocket. But honestly, good for Charlotte to like keep going a little bit longer. I don't know how much longer, but...
Well, we'll get there.
Uh-huh.
One thing that did strike me as interesting was how quickly they put this league and they put these teams together. Because Charlotte was awarded this team October 30th, 1996. And their first game was June 22nd, 1997. Less than 8 months. Whew. They had to do the name, the logo, the colors, the jersey, the courts, the players, the coaches. They had to sell tickets, do marketing, like everything in 8 months.
I mean, it has to be, I would imagine it was pretty similar in other leagues, but like still that seems like an impossible schedule.
It just is wild. So 97 and 98, well, we'll start with 1997. 1997, we had the allocated draft.
Yes.
Allocated players, not really a draft.
Uh-huh.
The two players allocated to the Sting were Andrea Stinson and Vicky Bullitt.
Okay.
Two players I hadn't really heard of before. Both of them had played overseas, so, the W knew about them. One interesting fact that I saw about Vicky was later in 2001 when she was on the Mystics, but she holds the record for playing the most minutes in a game. It was 55 minutes. When they went into quadruple overtime.
Okay. She played every single minute of that game?
I guess.
Good for Vicky.
Yeah. And then the third notable player on the team was a woman named Rhonda Mapp. She was picked in the elite draft. She was picked third.
Okay.
So 1997 and 1998, the Charlotte Sting get to the finals.
Wow. Okay.
And they're defeated by the Houston Comets.
Well, yes, as we know, They will not be winning a finals in the first 4 seasons of the W. We can guarantee that.
No, correct. But a bummer. Like, okay, they had a good team, but
Yeah.
the Comets were just so much better.
But instantly good.
Yeah, instantly good.
Uh-huh.
In 1998, they draft a woman named Tracy Reed, 7th overall, and she became the Rookie of the Year.
Oh.
So they have a little core. They have this core 3, Andrea Stinson, Vicky Bullitt, and Rhonda Mapp.
Mm-hmm.
And then they draft the Rookie of the Year in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
In 1999, this is when the ABL, the American Basketball League, folded. Which we talked about in our Happy Birthday WNBA podcast at the beginning of last year.
Yes.
We talked about the ABL.
It's almost a year ago today. So go back and check out that one because that's a fun episode as well.
Yeah, that was a really fun one.
Good trip through history.
So at this point, the new influx of talent came into the W from the ABL. And that's where we get Dawn Staley.
Nice.
In 1999, she joins the Charlotte Sting. She was actually drafted 9th overall by the Sting in 1999.
Disrespectful. She should be 1 overall. At least 1 overall in our hearts.
True. We will obviously do another podcast devoted to Dawn Staley.
Yeah.
She has a book coming out. Mm-hmm. And we've been told that there's a big mural being worked on in Philly of Dawn Staley.
Right around the corner from us.
Yeah.
Like we walk past the wall that it will be on and we're like, when are you going to start that mural? I'm like begging. I'm like so excited for it.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, well, we did a whole mural tour. They don't paint the murals on the buildings.
Right, so they could be painting it or preparing it.
They're painting it on paper and then they glue it on.
Correct.
So we'll keep you updated.
So it'll go up pretty quick whenever it does go up.
Yes, it will.
But yeah, Dawn does deserve a full episode of her own.
Yeah. But just to give, a little bit of preview into that.
Yeah.
She won 3 Olympic gold medals and coached the Olympic team in 2020, 2021. So really she has like 4 Olympic gold medals. Mm-hmm. She set the NCAA record for steals.
Wow.
When she was in college.
Okay.
But she never won a championship in college. Mm-hmm. She went to Virginia.
Okay.
However, we all know she's won 3 championships with University of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. She went a perfect 38-0 in 2024 last year.
Yep.
Which I forgot that. That's crazy.
No, that's crazy. Crazy.
And while she was playing in the W, she was the head coach of the Temple women's basketball team.
Such a good fact.
From 2000 to 2008.
Insane. We talk about WNBA players that are assistant coaches in the off season, but imagine splitting this job, playing full time in Charlotte, and also coaching in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I can't fathom it.
Right.
Obviously they're in different seasons, but still you have to stay in shape. You got to take care of yourself. You got to manage these kids. Mm-hmm. Dawn.
Yep.
The ultimate juggler.
Yes. However, in 1999, they did not make it to the finals. They made it to the semifinals and lost to the Liberty in the semifinals.
Gotcha. And then the Liberty go on to lose one of their many losses in the finals to the Comets.
Uh-huh. I think they very much are trying to win. They move a lot of pieces around and they bring in other people in. And, to me, it seems like they're really trying to make this franchise successful.
Sure.
So they trade Vicky Bullitt to try to get some younger pieces. But in 2000, they don't make the playoffs. They went 8-24.
Oh.
So and I think other players were hurt. 2000 bad.
Yeah, throw it away.
Yeah, forget about it.
That's fine.
2001, they traded the other 2 original players, Rhonda and the Rookie of the Year, Tracy. They traded them.
Okay.
To try to get, better pieces to help them win. One of them was Allison Feaster. She is just a little bit interesting in that she went to Harvard. She remains one of the only 2 Ivy League women players to ever score 2,000 points and have 1,000 rebounds
Okay.
in her career.
Okay.
And she was the first Ivy League player to be drafted.
Really? Okay. Neat little factoid.
Now she's the director of player development for the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
So
Boo to that, but
Right.
good for her to be in a high-profile basketball job.
Right. So she's been successful in the NBA, which is rare for these women.
Right.
And then the next one, her name was Tammy Sutton Brown. She was drafted 18th overall in this year's draft in 2001. And she's the first Canadian to be voted an All-Star.
Oh, Bridget Carlton. Shout out to your past, I guess.
Yep. So even despite really all these like moves they're trying to make, 2001 they made it to the finals again, but
Really?
they lost in the finals. 2002 and 2003 they lost in the semifinals. So they're like making it close.
Yeah, good
but
team.
Can't really get there. One thing that I was interested in was, I was looking at some of their stats, and Dawn is consistently leading the team in assists, but she only has 5.5 assists. And in today's world, that's not necessarily anything crazy.
No, it's probably a little above average, but yeah, certainly not near the best passers in the league. But she's leading the league in assists, you're saying?
She leads the team in assists.
Okay.
So I looked up, who was leading.
Sure.
Dawn was ranked 3rd in assists in the league.
Okay.
So
Learning to pass the ball.
don't let these stats fool you.
Right.
She was very good point guard.
Uh-huh.
However, really the players just are kind of deteriorating, not getting much better. In 2005, Dawn is traded in the middle of the season for a first-round draft pick and 2 other players.
Wow.
So, they're trying to rebuild a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's in 2005, but they really stopped making the playoffs after 2003. 4, 5, and 6, they never made the playoffs. And then in 2006, owners turned ownership over to the WNBA again, citing low attendance and loss of revenue. It did seem like there was a solid bid, a solid plan for an ownership group in Kansas City to move the team to Kansas City,
Really?
but that ended up falling through again.
Interesting, considering how kind of not so much right this moment, but Kansas City has obviously been in the news for an expansion team in the W, but it's interesting that they were considered a relocation team in this case for what I would say was probably one of the more successful franchises of those original 8. A lot of at least playoff success, but they're clearly in a rut in these handful of years, and I'm sure that's not going to go well for them.
Yeah. So in 2007, the players entered the dispersal draft after 10 years, and the league, or the team, was disbanded. And it was kind of crazy, just the overall instability of this team is kind of crazy. They were trading their originally drafted players who were supposed to be your core. They had 6 head coaches and 4 general managers in 10 years. Just a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They had an overall losing record, 143 to 179.
Oh, wow. That's surprising to me, because it feels based on just what you're saying, because I know you're not saying the standings every year, but it sounds like they would be, an overwhelmingly winning team, considering they made 3 finals. But no.
I know what you mean.
I guess their bad years were really bad.
The bad years were really bad. 2000 was 8-24.
Yeah.
2005 they were 6-28.
Yikes.
And then the years that they made the finals, they were 15-13. So they never won a crazy amount in a year.
They just got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Dang. So you might not know for sure, but like, does that owner just decide like, I'm done? You can just disband and I don't know. I imagine he doesn't like get his money back from the league. It's just like, well, I'll lose out on this investment and I'll keep my Charlotte Hornets, who are also not good. As long as I've been following the NBA, they have not really done much. So it's kind of sad that it seems like this Sting were ultimately the more successful franchise, even though they're a losing franchise. But, you know, the Hornets are still around, and the Hornets have an opportunity as well to get Cooper Flag. So maybe their luck will change. But, yeah, I kind of just another sad team that fizzles out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think all they really have to say is, I don't want to own this team anymore. And the W takes it over and looks for a new owner, and if they can't find one, then that's the end of it.
Right. And at that point, how many teams were there too?
Right. Well, at that point in 2006, 3 teams had already folded. So it was kind of a thing. It was in the cards. Like, no, okay, I can do this too.
Yeah.
There were 14 teams.
Okay.
In 2006.
Okay. And then in 2007, did they lose 2 that year? Actually, I don't know. The Rockers. No. So they went down to 13. Well, there you go. In 2007, they were at 13. In 2025, they'll be at 13. So
there you go.
Maybe these seasons will mirror each other. I don't know. But you're also, well, this is actually pre-recession too. So it's like,
right.
Not even the point where, and that's what's funny also, just in the context of the league, that we haven't had expansion prior to the Valkyries since 2008, which was when the economy went
right.
So that's probably why they were like, ooh, so tentative to like expand. But yeah, well, sorry to say, Charlotte Sting, I don't know if you're on the menu for a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen a couple of their players that have said, you know, we would love if it came back. But I haven't seen them as, you know, top of the table as receiving the next bid.
Well, you never know, Charlotte. You never know.
You never know.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
O'Reilly! Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to drive smarter with high-tech features and excellent reliability. Check out the Honda Civic, Accord, or HR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 4.99% APR on a 2025 Civic or a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Accord or HR-V.
See dealer for financing details. Exclude Civic SI and Type R.
Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Well, now you have another team that you want to talk to us about.
Yes.
Who would that be?
That is the Miami Soul.
Yes. Spanish for sun.
Yes, spelled S-O-L.
Nice.
The Soul entered the WNBA as the sister team to the Miami Heat
Okay.
in 2000.
Okay, so an expansion team.
And they entered with the Portland Fire, which we talked about 2 podcasts ago.
Yep.
They played in the same stadium as the Heat.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, probably pretty good. At least they didn't have to shoebox them somewhere else.
Right. So this one I'll talk about they're only around, spoiler alert, for 3 seasons. So we can quickly just go through how the years went, and then I'll talk about the players.
Much like the Portland Fire, they were a flash in the pan, you could say.
Yeah.
They were SOL, you could say, after a couple of years.
Whoa. So 2000, they went 13-19. They didn't make the playoffs. The coach, this is might not be that cool to anyone else, but the coach and the general manager, his name was Ron Rothstein.
Okay. Sounds like a dentist.
True. He had never coached a women's team, but he was the inaugural head coach of the Heat in 1988.
Okay.
He coached at Eastchester High School, which is where my dad went to high school.
Oh, was he the coach? No, it wasn't when your dad was.
My dad was 9 when he left.
Ah, dang.
Almost. I mean, my dad didn't play
He
basketball.
could have known a WNBA legend, though.
Yeah.
Dang.
So I just thought that was random and
Yeah,
weird.
it's a very random coincidence.
Yeah.
So wait, was he coaching the Heat and the Soul? Or this was
No,
after
no.
he was done?
Yeah,
as a
let me
coach?
tell
Okay.
you. So he coached the Heat for 3 years. He went 57 and 189
Okay.
in his 3 seasons with the Heat.
Quite bad.
Then he went to Detroit for 1 season. Then he went to the Soul.
Got it. Okay.
And I read a little article that talked about the owners of the Soul saying why they picked him to be their head coach. And they said, "We saw one of the more successful combinations was to have a person with NBA coaching experience leading the team.
That's it.
This is the best guy you could find."
Terrible, I can imagine the newspaper clipping of terrible NBA head coach looking for new gig. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you got the experience. We'll hire you. You're hired."
Right. You've never coached a woman before.
You've also never been successful. Except maybe in Eastchester High School, but
Right.
sure.
Sounds good to me. After that, he became an assistant coach for the Pacers and Heat again.
No.
So he hasn't been a head coach since this.
Sounds like he doesn't necessarily deserve to be, so.
Yeah, perhaps. 2001, they came in 3rd place in the standings, but they lost in the semifinals. 2002, they did not make the playoffs.
Okay.
2003, we have the dispersal draft.
Got it.
So a little...
Yeah, very quick fizzle.
Yeah.
Well, as we know, the Portland Fire never made the playoffs. The Soul here make 1 playoff, so 1 good year out of 3 maybe. But what was the deal with the team?
So this said, citing the inability to raise enough funds to continue operation under the WNBA's new restructuring agreement. That was when they said you don't have to be owned by the NBA team. The organization ceased operations in November 2002. So I guess they just couldn't find another owner.
Oh, shoot. So, like, the Heat, that was probably like the Heat were like, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah, I guess.
Because we don't have to own you anymore.
Right, we don't have to be burdened by you.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like kind of really sucks.
Yeah.
So, the team folds in January 2003, and the players from the Soul and Portland Fire are placed in the dispersal draft together.
Yep.
As the Portland Fire were in the same situation, they were around for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
The other Florida team, the Orlando Miracle, ceased operations in 2002 and moved to Connecticut as the Connecticut Sun.
Got it.
Which is just...
Thanks. So the Soul become the Sun. But it's not even the Soul.
Right.
It's the other team in Florida that becomes the Sun.
But then they, like, get a Sun logo. They basically become the Soul Sun, but it wasn't the Soul. It was the Miracle.
Right. But the only reason that they are the Sun is because they're owned... Or they play in Mohegan Sun. Like, they're owned by the Mohegan tribe.
Sure. It's just interesting how that happens.
It's like it's a coincidence, but a funny coincidence.
Yeah. One other coincidence, I guess. The team finished with a perfect 500 record.
Wow.
48 wins and 48 losses.
A perfectly balanced squad.
Mm-hmm. So now I can talk about some of the players. I have 4 players to mention.
Sure.
I'll do the good one first.
Oh, leading with it. Okay. I have no clue what this could be.
Okay, so this woman, I stan her now.
Okay.
Her name is Debbie Black.
Okay.
She was nicknamed the Pest.
Okay.
She's 5'2.5".
No way.
She is not the shortest player ever.
She's shorter than you, though.
Correct. Which is crazy.
Uh-huh.
She was only half an inch taller than Shannon Bobbitt, who Shannon Bobbitt is the shortest player ever.
Okay.
But she's not 5'2". She's 5'2.5".
Uh-huh. Important.
She is from Philly.
Really?
She played basketball, field hockey, and softball at St. Joe's University.
Wow, go Hawks.
Yep. She did play in the ABL for the Colorado Explosion.
Mm-hmm.
She had a quadruple double on December 8th, 1996.
In the ABL.
In the ABL.
Quadruple double, so...
She had 10 points, 14 rebounds.
Gets boards. 5'2.5", getting 14 boards. That's crazy.
Right. 12 assists and 10 steals.
That's how you get the nickname the Pest.
Yeah.
10 steals? She's just like, going between your legs.
Short.
That's kind of like how you play, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a short girl can get a steal. Mm-hmm. So she's drafted into the W in 1999 when the ABL folds when she's 33.
Okay.
She won Defensive Player of the Year in 2001 when she was 35. And she's 5'2".
That is crazy. That's so good. That's so good. Like, who could be a Defensive Player of the Year at 35 in the current WNBA?
I mean, the Pest currently is like SDS.
SDS.
Right.
SDS Pest arc.
But, like, she wouldn't win Defensive Player of the Year.
No, probably not.
Right.
Because it is such an award that skews toward a bigger player that gets blocks.
It's the blocks.
But when you get steals in the quantity that she was probably getting them, if she can get 10 steals in a game, then, like, I would have to imagine that, like, I bet you 10 steals has never been done in the WNBA. Maybe it's clearly been done in the ABL, but, like...
We can look that up.
Probably worth looking into.
Let us know. So in 1999, one more fact, she played on the Utah Stars with the tallest player ever.
Yo!
Margot Didek.
Cool.
Who is 7'2".
Wow.
So you have the tallest player ever with almost the shortest player ever.
2 feet different. That's crazy. You could fit a, like, literal toddler above the Pest's head and not even reach Didek's head.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I love Debbie Black now.
That rules. Shout out Debbie.
Yeah.
Little Debbie.
Don't say that.
I mean, by definition,
She's small.
maybe that's why they named all those tasty cakes after.
Shut up.
Anyway.
Okay. The next player who was on the Miami Soul was Sandy Brondello
We are quite familiar.
from Australia.
Uh-huh.
She was actually drafted 34th, which was the 4th round at the time.
Okay.
Which they
Right.
didn't have a 4th round right anymore.
No.
So, but she was drafted in 1998 by Detroit, and she came to the Soul in 2001. So definitely she was one of the reasons why they made it to the playoffs in 2001. She had a lot of success in Australia. She didn't really have a lot of success in the W as a player, but of course has much more success as a coach.
Uh-huh.
She was the head coach of the San Antonio Silver Stars for 1 year.
Oh.
Then she was the head coach of the Mercury for a while. Won a championship there. And then last year won a championship with the Liberty.
Yes. Congratulations, Sandy. And,
Yes.
all of her Olympic stuffs as well. Mm-hmm. Quite a good coach.
Yes. The next player that I thought was interesting, her name is Ruth Riley.
Uh-huh.
She was the 5th overall draft pick in 2001. So, obviously, these players' successes did not come on the Miami Soul.
Uh-huh.
She later went to the Detroit Shock. Mm-hmm. And before she was there, the Shock had the worst record in the league, 9-23. And then she came and they had the best record in the league, 25-9. They won the championship and she was finals MVP.
Ooh, difference maker.
So this girl, Ruth, was good. Definitely
Clearly.
made a difference.
Clearly.
Just did not get any chance on the Miami Soul.
It happens. Sometimes there's a player on your bench that you just don't get the opportunity and then they pop somewhere else.
Yep. And she actually is the senior director of team development for the Miami Heat currently.
Really? Wow, another player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next is Betty Lennox. She was the 6th overall pick in 2000 by the Lynx.
Uh-huh.
And she became the rookie of the year that year.
Okay.
She broke her hip in 2001. So she didn't play much in 2001
Okay.
for the Lynx. Then they traded her to the Soul in 2002.
All right.
So she plays on the Soul for 1 year.
Uh-huh. Kind of whack. That's weird by Minnesota to be like, yeah, congratulations, rookie of the year. Oh, you're broken? Head on
Yeah.
over to Miami.
Right, traded her. Kind of brutal.
Yeah, kind of brutal. You're trading her at the bottom of her value. I don't know.
She also, like Ruth, changed teams. She was on the Seattle Storm in 2004. And they won the championship, and she was finals MVP.
Difference makers.
Yep. And then she went to the Dream in the expansion draft
In 2008.
in 2008.
Cool.
So Betty Lennox, who was Rookie of the Year, Finals MVP, played on 6 teams in 12 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
6 teams.
Just so unstable. And clearly not, I imagine, what she would have chosen to do.
No.
So, really, these 2 teams, the Soul are just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
The Sting, while they were around for 10 years, had a lot of uncertainty.
Uh-huh.
This was just such an era of, no one knew it was going to happen.
Right.
The solid players that, were good and should have been cornerstones of teams were traded willy-nilly. They were dispersed in drafts. They were selected in expansions, over and over again. So it must have been, really hard for these players to establish a sense of team,
Right.
It was, I think, really giving them, it's an injustice not giving them the opportunity to be settled with teammates,
Yeah.
with a coach who's gonna stay,
Yeah.
to learn how to be stable on a team. So
That's interesting.
that's it with the Soul.
It's interesting that, you're saying that era was so much instability not necessarily based on wasn't the choice of the players, because they were getting traded or their teams were folding and they just wanted to make a career in basketball. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like, and I've heard this spoken in the recent years of WNBA, but like we're entering certainly more of a player empowerment era where players feel like they can go be a mercenary, especially now with the CBA and whatnot, and what's ever going to happen in 2026, that like you can go out and get a bag for 1 year with a team. And it's common now, but I think there was a long period of time, and correct me if I'm wrong, where players were very loyal to their teams, like stayed committed for long stretches of time, probably in those 2010s. And now you're seeing a lot of movement, but it's based on the players. It's not the teams. Obviously there were a lot of trades this past season, but people said in previous years, like this was the most trades that happened in an off season. This was uncommon, but now maybe the WNBA is entering a new era where the players want to go where they can get paid, because that's very important, considering the wealth inequality between the two leagues. Mm-hmm. And there's also stability for the franchises. Like the franchises aren't going to fold like they did in the beginning of the league.
Right.
But it's just kind of interesting that it's like they almost mirror each other back then versus now, but for very different reasons.
Yep.
Well, not very remarkable teams, but good to know about them. Good to know that they existed.
Good to know about them. Good to know about these players. I love finding out random facts about random players that I never would have heard of had I not looked into the Miami Soul.
Yeah. And I don't think Miami is, coming back into the WNBA fold. There is certainly more of a swell for Miami to get an expansion team than Charlotte. But personally, I like Miami being connected to Unrivaled and making it like that's the city where Unrivaled happens, and Unrivaled, the brand that's going to grow more and more after year one, can be rooted. And obviously there's discussions about touring and whatnot, but I like it to be this is where it happens.
Yeah.
Miami still has a connection to the WNBA in a sense.
Yes. A nugget that I will leave for you.
Ooh.
I just listened to Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe's podcast from this week, and they had Chelsea Gray and Nafisa Collier on. And they were talking about Unrivaled and everything. And Fee did say that they have a 2-year contract with the building they were in Miami.
Okay.
So they are going to be in that building again next year.
Got it.
So while I'm sure they wanted to expand and get more fans to be able to come this next year, they won't be able to.
That's fine.
However, they were also talking about, we would like to do at least one like city road trip. We've heard that they've been talking about New York. Chelsea Gray mentioned, well, maybe, the NBA All-Star Game is in LA next year. We could just like travel to LA and do something in LA during the All-Star Game. That would be interesting.
Would be a good idea.
And then they said, we want to keep our home base and then, do maybe 1 week where we're traveling.
Yes.
So, for sure.
Yeah, because I have to imagine the players are felt a little cooped up because it's 10 weeks in Miami. I mean, it's 10 weeks in Miami. That's nice. But also you want to stretch your legs a little bit and go somewhere else. But if it was designed in their schedule, that'd be pretty sweet.
But it's also nice, I'm sure, to not have to be traveling every single week.
Right. But that's why I think one road trip or maybe 2 road trips would be probably pretty welcomed by most of the people in the league.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, shout out to Charlotte and Miami, our 2 defunct teams. That leaves us with only one more defunct franchise to talk about, the Sacramento Monarchs, who I have begun researching myself, and that will be hopefully another solo episode kind of similar to our Houston Comets. Not as much storied as a franchise, but they do have a championship, so worth talking about. And they do have 2 of the WNBA's top 20 all-time players. Spoilers. Some goats for those that know more about them than me. Mm-hmm. But I'll get into that next week. Looking forward to this weekend and all the college hoops that's going on and preparing for the draft. But if you'd like to reach out and connect with us, again, our email is attackthebaseline@gmail.com, and we're on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod _. And Kristen, anything else to add before we go?
No.
Don't want to tell people about your cool Alyssa Thomas jersey that you bought today?
Oh, yes. I bought a Laces Alyssa Thomas jersey today. That was exciting. I was very nervous. I was downstairs at work heating up my lunch, and I was like, John, are you at your computer? I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it.
And I wasn't. I was out to lunch.
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't answer me. So I ran back upstairs. And I made it on. I was refreshing. And they weren't showing up for a minute. But after a couple minutes, we got on. And then immediately, Kayla McBride and Tiffany Hayes were already sold out. Ugh. But I got an AT, and I'm very happy about that.
Yes. One of the current WNBA legends.
Yes.
So it's a good one to have. Our first, jersey of any WNBA player. So that's cool. And you got a medium, so maybe we can both wear it. We'll see. We'll see what the size looks like.
You wear a women's medium?
I don't know what it's going to fit like. But,
okay.
I mean, I guess a jersey is a unisex product.
They said these are women's sizes. Yeah.
Doesn't mean I couldn't wear it.
Jerseys run very big.
Yes. I'm not the pest, though.
John does wear my Eagles jersey, which is a size small.
But it's huge.
Right, it's still big.
Football jerseys are crazy.
Yeah.
Basketball jerseys are a different story.
So we'll see when it comes.
But very excited to own a piece of unrivaled history after their momentous first season. But yeah, that's going to do it for Attack the Baseline this week. Looking forward to more defunct conversation in the future. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the Baseline. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week with more WNBA goodness. But until then, ta-ta for now.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, or CRV. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline, or a 2.99% APR on a 2025 CRV.
See dealer for financing details.
Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.